In the last 35 years, we have actually realized that to make money in the courier business, it's not about you actually surviving the first 3 months or 6 months. It's you actually surviving the first 18 months. And the thing is, in those 18 months, you're going to have a lot of challenges that are going to challenge your ass and see whether you are courageous, you are tenacious, or you're just going to quit, right? So in today's conversation, I want to talk to you about the top 5 worst courier business problems that you could encounter if you think about maybe engaging in this industry. You got to be aware of, okay? So here's an overview, boss, that I want you to really pay attention to. The thing is that one worst courier business problem is that my vehicle keeps breaking down. So if you're hearing people saying, I have a cargo van, I have a box truck, I have a sprinter van, I have whatever I have, and I'm just hauling loads with that van, and the vehicle keeps breaking down. And the thing is that you're probably somewhere and you're just like, I can't, I'm not getting this, I'm not really taking this anymore. So you're pissed or whatever. This is an important problem. Now, this problem, so whenever somebody says, my vehicle keeps breaking down, there are 2 issues, very important issues. Number 1, you have the wrong vehicle, or number 2, you are getting the wrong loads. Now, there's nothing called wrong loads. Either you are trying to really get the loads that you think are profitable, or you are getting loads that your vehicle can handle. See, we got to think about weights, right? So if you start taking very complicated, very, very heavy loads in your cargo van, your sprinter van, your box truck, and what have you, what's going to happen here is that structurally, and I'm not talking about on the business side here, I'm talking about structurally, I'm talking about mechanically, there is a delta, there is a big gap. So if you have a huge weight that your vehicle can't handle, of course your vehicle is going to break down. That's the first thing I want you to really think about. The second thing is you got to ask yourself whether or not you have the proper vehicle in the first place. Is your vehicle old? Do you have a cargo van that's like an old ass cargo van? When was the last time? So what is your model year? Talk to me about that. Is it 20 years, 25 years, 15 years? Because a lot of them, people are trying to save money, and so they go and get a used cargo van or sprinter van or box truck or what have you, and then they realize that like on the odometer you have 75 miles or 100 miles, but you can't drive the van for like 2 or 3 or 5 years, boss. When we get into the courier business, we are in this for the long run. By the way, welcome back to the show. I really appreciate having you here. And so in today's conversation, I'm talking to you about the top 5 worst courier business problems. So the number 1, my vehicle keeps breaking down all the time. The second thing that a lot of courier business people, like owner operators, really and again, we are basing this in the last 35 years of research from our own business clients, but also from things we have seen in the industry. A customer asked me to transport fragile, like if you have a fragile items. So a client is asking you, hey, listen, could you please just hold this load for me? And it's fragile. And the thing here is that you have to understand, when we talk about making money in the courier business as a delivery business, as a delivery owner operator, you have to make sure that you're getting paid for whatever type of load the shipper wants you to actually haul. Not only that you have the resources, you have the equipment to handle the fragility or the nature of the load in the first place. The thing is that a lot of couriers, a lot of delivery owner operators, they're just trying to make money. They're just trying. I'm just looking at the ka-ching, but boss, if you're looking at the ka-ching, something happens, and you ain't got the proper insurance coverage, you're gonna lose money. Your ass will start losing money real fast. Because when we talk about the insurance, if there is let's say if there's an accident, it's not about like $40 or $50 they're paying you per hour or per load that's going to cover the 1,000 or 10,000 loss in whatever equipment you're hauling. So be very careful. If a client is asking you to transport fragile items, you want to make sure that you are either compensated for it, or that you have, that you are compensated for it, and that you have the proper equipment. You got to have the proper accessories, whatever you need, whatever your van, whatever your box truck, whatever the vehicle you're driving, whatever that vehicle requires for you to transport the fragile items, okay? Especially if we're talking about distance. You see, the thing is that if somebody just calling you and say, listen, could you please transport this stuff from here, and it's only like a 2 or 3 miles, it's across town, not a problem. But if you have to go like into another state, if you have to do OTR, for example, and let's say somebody's calling you and say, listen, I'm in Florida. I want you to really transport this stuff for me and just deliver it in Texas. And then you see the distance there, then you have to really properly bill the client. Okay. Boss, I want to quickly remind you once again of today's conversation. What are we talking about here? We are talking about the top 5 worst courier business problems. Number 1, your vehicle keeps breaking down. Number 2, a shipper is asking you to transport fragile items. The third worst courier business problem is that I don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising. Oh, we see this a lot all the time. I mean, you're sitting there listening to me right now. I'm sure you have the same dilemma. You have the same conundrum. You have the same challenge because all you do is that you just go on load boards all day and trying to go on that and go on trucksport.com on truckstop.com and trying to find the little like a small collection of loads that everybody's fighting for. See, the thing is, and you're having that problem because you haven't thought about advertising. Now, when we talk about advertising, I'm not asking you to break the bank here, boss. I know the cash is tight. I know you got to put food on the table. I know you got to take care of wifey. I know you got to really you have a constellation of things that you have to do. I know that. I'm not asking you to spend a lot of cash on advertising. I'm not asking you to do some PPC campaign on Facebook ads or Google ads. PPC stands for price per click. I'm not asking you to do none of that. All I'm asking you here is that when you say I don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising, it's just because son, daughter, uncle, aunt, you haven't thought outside the box. You have not thought outside the box. I want you to be innovative. I want you to be creative in terms of advertising your business, your cargo van business, your sprinter van business, your box truck business, whatever you have right now, your courier business. You haven't thought about the best way to advertise it. Let me give you an example. I mean, last night I was at a happy hour and I had a couple of folks who came to me, and they were asking questions about cargo van, sprinter van, all that kind of stuff. And we had this very same topic. And I told them, I said, listen. Number 1, you can have a website. A website is a very cheap way of advertising your business. It costs about $200 if you want to have a nice website. Okay, $100, $200. You don't have to break the bank. You go on Fiverr, on Fiverr, on Upwork, whatever. You find someone in your family to do it for you. You got to think about business. You got to think about business cards. You got to think about flyers. I ain't asking you to actually spend a lot of cash on those digital ads, whatever. So you got to be creative, okay? So when you say I don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising, I want you to stop thinking that, okay? I want you to quit that thought right now. Quit it immediately. This is really important. The fourth worst courier business problem is that when people say, well, I can't keep track of my schedule. You're just sitting around and you just wake up in the morning, like it's at 6 o'clock, you have breakfast for the kids, whatever, and you just like have a nice day in school, and then you realize that you have no idea what you have to do today, or you probably have a lot of loads waiting for you, and you're just like, listen, I can't handle this. I'm stressed, whatever. I'm working hard. See, the thing is, if you can't keep track of your schedule, you end up losing a lot of deals. Why? Because you can't manage your schedule. Instead of doing something for 8 hours, instead of doing something for 4 hours, you're spending 8 hours to actually accomplish it. Because the whole thing here is that you don't have a plan. Now, I'm not asking you again. On this show, the goal here is to really sort of minimize the expenses that you have to engage in. There are free apps right now. If you get into your mobile, like your phone, you have a lot of mobile apps that you can download, and they are free. And so those apps are going to help you manage your schedule, track your schedule. If you have questions, just let us know in the comment section. We'll let you know based on your geography, because some apps are geo-located or geo-restricted. So based on your geography, based on your city and state, we'll let you know the best app that you can download to actually manage your schedule, to track your schedule. So you got to be organized, boss. If you want to survive in this industry, if you want to be in this industry for a long haul, Whether whatever, no matter the vehicle you drive, no matter the type of niche you are actually, the type of load you are actually niching on, you gotta be organized. Okay, as you start getting more and more jobs, you need to be sure to have your day planner or other scheduling method nearby at all times. Okay, keep track of your jobs and keep track of your customers. You never want to get a call wondering why you aren't where you're supposed to be. Can you imagine that? Somebody calling you and like, okay, where your ass at? Like, home. Well, fool. Why are you home? You're supposed to deliver this, blah 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 blah, and then you realize you just have a lot of jobs. It's human. It's human. So don't try to blame yourself right now. If you're in that situation, if what I'm saying just rings a bell, what you want to do here is you want to really get your act together. You want to get something called a day planner. It can be like something paper. It can be a little notebook, whatever. Or you can have like, our favorite is just apps. You just download an app and it keeps track of everything. Okay, so that you know exactly what you have to say. Because so the next time I don't want you to say "oops" anymore. Okay, so keep a detailed schedule. Another thing that that's one of the worst courier business problems is that when you hear some people say, "Well, I'm lost." Can you imagine that? Oh boy, 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 I'm lost. Like basically, you're just in the middle of nowhere, and the worst thing is, so I'm lost. It's kind of cool if you still have signal, right? You have mobile signal, you have internet signal, so you can actually find your way back on the highway or whatever. So, but if you're lost and you don't have signal, can you imagine? And basically, because the thing is, and I'm not, this is not your fault, because there are some clients, there are some deliveries where you have to actually drive in the woods on the countryside, been there, done that. And then you realize, hey, listen, what the F is happening here? I've been driving for 30 minutes. I've been just, circling around and around, and I don't see anything. They told me to get off on the I-9, and then, I didn't see the I-9, or they told me to take exit 47. I didn't see exit 47. That was kind of like crazy. Like this sort of reminds me back in the days, like before like 20 years ago when when there was no actual GPS or sophisticated GPS, you had to print the directions. So whenever you have to drive, like if you have to like if you have a lot of delivery jobs on that day, you have to basically print, like you have to go to Google Maps and print all the delivery jobs from A to Z. So if you go into, like, if you're delivering, like if you're going to A, B, C, D, E, F to deliver at those places, you have to actually go in Google Maps and do, how do I go from A to B, from B to C, from B to D, from D to F? You know what I'm talking about. If you are older than 40 years old or 50 years old, you know what I'm talking about. And that was kind of complicated. You know why? Because back in the days, if you got lost, let's say you're just driving and you just missed an exit and you got lost. So your whole plan, all the A, B, C, D that you printed, all those are lost too, unless you came back to sort of like a central point. The point I'm trying to say here is that if you're lost, you want to have GPS, and you have GPS that nowadays you have GPS that relies not on the internet, but actually has maps embedded in the GPS right away. That's what you need to get. Okay, boss? By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. I'm talking to you about the 5 worst courier business problems that you can encounter. So I just want to finish on this. So don't just rely on one, like an internet connected GPS unit. No. As a matter of fact, Google Maps can also work if you're offline. So you want to really invest in that. This is really important, okay? Don't take it lightly. All right, so here you have it, right? I just kind of told you the 5 worst courier business problems that you can encounter. I want to give you an approach that can actually help you. Like if you ever, if you're currently in the courier business, or you think about getting to that business, they're very wonderful business, by the way. It's a great business. Depending on if you're able to position yourself properly, you can make a lot of bank. Okay, you can make a lot of bank. Don't hear people telling you, hey, listen, yeah, if you become a courier, you could, the maximum you can make is $20 per hour, whatever. They're lying to your face. They are lying to your face. In everything in this world, you have to know how to position yourself. Okay, you can make $50, but you can make $50, $60, $70 per hour in the courier business. Transporting all kinds of stuff. It's all about how you position yourself. So the thing here is that if you want to minimize problems in your courier business, you want to reevaluate your delivery strategy. Like right now, you're kind of used to delivering things or delivering loads in a certain way. You got to ask yourself, and again, I'm not talking about you just looking at one side and say, you know what, I'm making a decision. No. This actually this requires an overhaul of your delivery strategy. Okay, you want to think about what your delivery options are. What kind of loads are you hauling? Okay, what kind of clients are you actually targeting? Because again, we love clients. All clients, we love them, but all clients are not created equal. As a matter of fact, there is a famous rule called the Pareto rule, and Pareto rule says that 20% of your clients are bringing 80% of the revenue. So if you have 80% of the revenue, why should you actually waste too much time on clients that are just not bringing you anything? I'm not sitting here trying to denigrate any client, but hey, listen, if you have a cheap ass client who actually he or she calls you and you have a tiny ass sort of order, and that's like a $35 or 75 bucks, and you're spending like so much time on that tiny ass order, whereas you have the other clients who actually never calls you, but the day he calls you, you making bank on that day. Which one should you prioritize? We're in business, boss, son. We're in business. We're not a charity here. We're not running a charity here. So we gotta make very tough decisions sometimes. It's just part of the business. It is what it is. So what I'm trying to say here is that you want to reevaluate your delivery strategy. You want to provide concise shipping. You want to provide concise shipping routes. Okay. You want to be clear when it comes to, you want to be clear with the clients when it comes to the estimated date of delivery, so the ETA, and you want to also make sure that you are enhancing delivery predictability with some GPS, some kind of data. Okay, you have a lot of software right now that allows you to optimize your route. This is really important. And one thing I also want you to really think about here is that, if you are trying to, let's say, avoid worse courier business problems, you want to really be clear about, you want to define expectations with the clients. Going on the days where you're just like, the client is always right. No. The client is queen or king, whatever. But listen, the client also is a person, and the client might say something, and you could be like, listen, I think I've heard you. I heard what you said, and I'm gonna try to do. I'm going to try to deliver exactly based on what you want, but blah 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 blah. What I'm trying to say here is that going on the days where you just listen placidly to whatever the client's saying. Okay, no, don't be placid. Okay, if don't be just like, I'm just a driver anyway. My job is just to deliver stuff from A to Z. Well, you got to be part of the planning phase too. Because if you don't have the proper planning, you're going to have the problems, the 5 problems that I told you about, where you either you're lost, or the client just wants you to deliver something and you realize you don't have the proper vehicle for it, or the client wants you to deliver fragile items, and the worst thing is she never told you in the first place. He never actually sat you down and said, listen, I'm asking you to haul very important items for me, and those things are this stuff is kind of fragile. But see, those are things you need to know, because you could be stuck in traffic, for example, or you can just go through some bumps on the road, whatever. But if you know that you have fragile items in the back, then you know how to drive that. Like you can drive way smarter, which is not good. But listen, I'm not, this is a topic for another day. For now, I want to drive home the point that you want to plan. Okay, if you are trying to, if you want to avoid problems, you want to plan. You want to offer bespoke experience to the client. You want to also use a tracking software or tracking apps. There are free ones, but one thing for sure, you want to be transparent with the clients. Throughout the phase, throughout the delivery phase. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I'll just quickly talking to you about the 5 top worst courier business problems. So the vehicle is breaking down, the customer is asking you to transport fragile items, and you don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising, and you can't keep track of your schedule, and you're lost. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.